Welcome to Urban U, a magazine show that brings you highlights from the nation's largest urban university, the City University of New York. I'm journalism school student Alicia Gadraj, sharing these CUNY stories from the beautiful campus of my undergrad alma mater, Brooklyn College. This episode celebrates 175 years of CUNY by honoring its people and some of the most memorable events that shaped CUNY history. And out of Brooklyn College, we bring you another interview with one of its most notable alums, Damon Evans. We also introduce you to the new Casa de las Americas at LaGuardia Community College, and much more, including a story produced by a media studies student at Hunter on one of the inspiring mentors of their dance program.
The City University of New York is an indelible part of the fabric of New York City itself. And this year, CUNY celebrates a major anniversary. So we look back now, not just with a crash course on 175 years of CUNY history, but 175 years of New York history. The year is 1847. Iowa just became the 29th state. America is 14 years from the Civil War. Coffee costs 7 cents per pound. A carpenter earns $1.72 per day. Horse-drawn carts fill the streets. New York City's population is 500,000. And college is largely regarded as only the domain of high society. This is the backdrop to which the City University began, with just 143 students 175 years ago, with the founding of the Free Academy, the future City College, a rather radical experiment whether the children of the people, the children of the whole people, can be educated, and whether an institution of the highest grade can be successfully controlled by the popular will, not by the privileged few. After 175 years, you could look back at the significance of this experiment through a lens of the famous and influential who have studied at CUNY. Andrew Grove, the CEO who built Intel into the largest semiconductor company in the world. New York State Poet Laureate Audre Lorde, who dedicated her life to social activism and stands as an inaugural inductee to the National LGBTQ Wall of Honor.
May I never lose that terror that keeps me brave. May I owe nothing I cannot repay.
Or Bernie Sandler, the godmother of Title IX, the landmark 1972 law which flung open the doors for women in sports. There's Henry Kissinger, Bella Abzug, Jerry Seinfeld, Cardi B. You could look at it through that lens, and certainly no story of CUNY is complete without them. But as an academic institution, first and foremost, perhaps it's best to look at 175 years through a lens of academic achievements. Scientists like Marie Maynard Daly, the first black woman in America to earn a PhD in chemistry, whose work is the very reason we know to watch our cholesterol. Or Jonas Salk, who would be hailed as nothing short of a miracle worker when he developed a vaccine for polio in 1955.
Who owns the patent on this vaccine?
Well, the people, I would say. There is no patent. This is... Could you patent the sun?
Over the years, CUNY can claim 151 Fulbright scholars, 26 MacArthur Genius Grant recipients, and 13 Nobel Prize winners. And these kinds of academic pursuits continue today. In 2014, CUNY's Advanced Science Research Center opened its doors as part of a multi-billion-dollar initiative to be a leading hub of scientific research, preparing the next generation of Salks and Dalys. You could look at it through that lens, and certainly, no story of CUNY is complete without them. But of course, many colleges can tout alumni. Many colleges can tout achievements. So what makes CUNY special? Well, across 25 colleges and 250,000 students enrolled annually, CUNY is the largest urban university in the nation. And that may be a fitting lens to look back on CUNY's history through. those 250,000 students it serves, the demographics reflecting the makeup of the city, a people's history. This is New York, after all. It is America's melting pot of social mobility. In fact, a 2017 study showed that CUNY propels almost 6 times as many low-income students into the middle class and beyond as all 8 Ivy League campuses, plus Duke, MIT, Stanford, and Chicago combined. New York has always been the traditional hub of American immigration, of course. In the mid-1800s, when the Free Academy was founded, it was the German and the Irish. At the turn of the century, it was Italians and Eastern Europeans, Jews. And at the time, while most university doors were closed to this part of society, City College did allow them. And while it still had a ways to go in allowing non-whites and women to attend, its female counterpart, Normal College, the future Hunter College, was already admitting its first 8 black students by 1873. In the first half of the 20th century, a lot of the migration was internal, with the Great Migration of Black Americans to northern cities. And since 1965, immigration has been prominent from Latin America and Asia. And if you look at CUNY's enrollment today, the numbers echo these population movements. As of 2021, CUNY's student body stands at about 25% Black, 29% Hispanic, 22% Asian, and 24% white. More than a third are foreign-born, counting 200 countries of origin. Point being, historically speaking, no other city has educated so much of its own population. And that is a unique dynamic between a city, its citizens, and its education system. In many ways, 175 years of CUNY history is 175 years of New York and America's history, from every era, all the way back since its beginning. The Civil War. Before his presidency, City College's second president, Alex S. Webb, was a war hero, earning the Congressional Medal of Honor for his command at Gettysburg. World War I. City College offers one of the largest student training programs in the country. The Roaring '20s sees a heightened focus on science, with Albert Einstein's first ever American visit beginning at City College, where he lectures on the theory that has just made him an international celebrity, his theory of general relativity. Also, a focus on industry, with the birth of a dedicated business school, the future Baruch College. The Great Depression. City College cements its reputation at the time of intellectual left-wing activism, protest against militarism and socioeconomic injustice. Indeed, it was called the Harvard of the proletariat. World War II. City College launches America's first documentary film school to counteract Nazi propaganda. The future Lehman College hosts the first meetings of the United Nations in America. It also offers trailblazing naval training to women.
3,500 waves in a formal review to mark their anniversary. In 2 years' time, the waves have made a brilliant record. Soon, the first contingents may go overseas.
In the post-war era, new colleges opened to meet increasing demands for education. In 1961, the City University of New York is officially born. 1960s New York sees civil unrest, like much of the country. Queens College student Andrew Goodman is a victim of the infamous Freedom Summer murders in 1964, while registering black voters in segregated Mississippi. The next year, Martin Luther King Jr. speaks at the campus.
He, along with others, paid the supreme price for this struggle, and I'm sure that we will see in many ways that his death was not in vain.
And after hard-fought student protests, in 1970, CUNY opens its doors to dramatically greater minority enrollment, better reflecting the demographics of the city. When New York faces bankruptcy in the mid-70s, CUNY faces it too, in a sign of the times requiring tuition for the first time. And when New York faces tragedy on September 11, 2001, CUNY faces that too, as the Borough of Manhattan Community College loses a building and transforms another into a Port Authority command center during the crisis. Over 175 years, New York has been exalted, disparaged, half torn down, and built back up. And CUNY has been there for every boom and for every bust. From 143 students to 250,000. A historically unique New York institution and reflection of the city itself as it begins the next 175 years, with the words of its founder as relevant now as they were in 1847. For the record, I'm Ari Goldberg.
You may know Brooklyn College alum Damon Evans from the hit 70s sitcom The Jeffersons, but playing Lionel on that show was only one part of a storied career that included Broadway, television, and opera.
I was in love and entranced with the performing arts, ever since I can remember. I think the first big show I got was Hello, Dolly with Pearl Bailey. Miss Bailey. I loved her. I loved her. And there I was playing Barnaby Tucker with her.
Throughout the 70s, Evans went on to star in Broadway shows such as The Me Nobody Knows, Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope, and Via Galactica with Raul Julia.
All I know is that it was such a part of my DNA that was my dream, that I just went for it. I didn't know that a window had opened on Broadway for Black performers. This was the aftermath of the Black Power movement. This was the beginning of some representation on the Great White Way. When I first came on the scene, we were just asking, let us in the door. I will tell you something that's interesting, was being cast as the first Black actor to sing Jesus Christ in Jesus Christ Superstar. There was none of this, the first business. There is enough responsibility that any of us have to go through doing 8 shows a week without that label, the first, of being perfect, of being, you can't be without fault.
Well, we're moving on now, moving on up to the side. Evans got his big break in television, taking over the role of Lionel on The Jeffersons. However, what should have been a dream job was anything but.
We taped before a live audience. And every time I would come out, they would say, where's the other Lionel? Isabel Sanford, the beloved Wheezy, in her own inimitable way and style, let me know she preferred Michael Evans over me. It was very difficult. And then I got a call from Reuben Cannon, who was casting Roots. I went in, and then Reuben said, wait here. And he came out with this script. He said, I want you to read this and come back. It's for the role of Alex Haley.
Evans was excited to win the role, but despite his success on television and Broadway, his true passion had always been performing in operas like Porgy and Bess.
There's a boat that's leaving soon for New York.
Doing Sport and Life at Glyndebourne was a birth and a freedom, because for the first time, I'm putting my artistic stamp as well as my sexuality on a character. I also knew my creation of Sport and Life as a gay character, and the artistic statement I was making with that had been fulfilled, knowing it's not only liberating for me, but it's serving the good of the story.
What did it mean to you to be able to put all these parts of yourself finally together and put it out to the world?
It was something that I needed. How someone, I understand the young man who did it at the Met a few years ago saw it that way. It was different to do it in 86. All I know is that whatever it is I created, it still speaks to people today.
I'm Scott Kirby for Urban U.
You're liable to read in the Bible, it ain't necessary.
Security call. Rocket charter is getting underway from the East 23rd Street Marina.
Tony Dilernia might be retired from the City University of New York, but there is no way he could ever retire from the water.
I've worked 2 and 3 jobs my entire life. I would leave Kingsborough at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and come down to this boat very often and run charters in the evening. I conceptualized rocket charters, which was taking businessmen fishing after work in Manhattan in the East River, New York Harbor, from 5 to 9 at nights.
Dilernia spent 15 years as the director of the maritime program at Kingsborough Community College, a program he helped build from the ground up in the late 80s.
We put together a fisheries program, and we were training commercial fishermen, but by the early 90s, it had become aware that we had overcapitalized our fisheries, and that we really shouldn't have been encouraging more people to go into commercial fishing, because we were going to start to contract the stock.
Which meant it was time for the fisheries program to shift gears and focus more on operating boats than harvesting fish.
So we developed a maritime program. And I got the opportunity to rewrite the maritime program. And the provost at the time said to me, Tony, you've got a year to rewrite this entire program to go full maritime. So we convened a workshop of all the maritime leaders in New York Harbor. And every one of them signed on and said, yeah, do it, go ahead. So I got the green light.
And my guess is they want it because you're then their training program. They don't have...
Exactly. And I became a source of trained people. And so we developed this tremendous training program for the growth that we forecast was going to happen in New York Harbor. They loved it.
But Dilernia isn't your average boat captain armed with a bachelor's degree in biology and a master's degree in marine science. Dilernia has become an environmental advocate for preserving New York's fisheries and fighting the effects of climate change in our oceans.
I've been told by physicians that if the pH of our bloodstream has changed, the pH of the ocean has changed already, we would be dead.
Climate changes have affected fisheries on the East Coast so much that Dilernia helped get the New York State Attorney General to sue NOAA, the federal agency that manages federal fishing quotas, over New York's flounder quota, which is based on data from the 1980s when flounder lived further south. The species has migrated north because of climate change, but some southern states still have very large quotas for flounder that no longer live there.
They catch the fish off of Long Island, and then they steam all the way to North Carolina to offload them. Talk about a carbon footprint.
But while Dilernia finds his forays into environmentalism and his lifelong passion for entrepreneurship to be rewarding, it's clear his heart belongs to his students, the graduates of Kingsborough's maritime program.
When the U.S. airplane went down into the Hudson River, some of my graduates assisted in that rescue. Tell me how satisfying is that? If I take this charter boat out, right, and I fish, guaranteed a ferry or a tugboat or a police boat or a fire boat's gonna go by, and they're gonna call me on the radio and say, hey Cap, it's such and such from Kingsborough, class of, 2007 or 2009. And so I get to see all these, they're not kids anymore. Some of them I trained, they're getting to retire at this point from the fire department, the police department.
So even though Captain Tony's retired from Kingsborough Community College, you can still find him cruising the waters from Montauk to Manhattan. I'm Andrew Falzone for Urban U.
These are exciting times at LaGuardia Community College, where we'll soon be opening La Casa de las Americas, which is the first of its kind center within the community colleges at CUNY. La Casa de las Americas aims to, in this case, serve our Latinx community and students here at LaGuardia, but also the larger Queens community in New York City itself. And we're excited again to get this endeavor off the ground with the support of our president, Kenneth Adams, and of course the CUNY community and LaGuardia itself. Within CUNY, we are the only of the centers at the two-year community colleges themselves. What we see across CUNY is that there are centers that, for example, like Center for Puerto Rican Studies, Dominican Studies Institute, the Mexican Studies Institute as well, serve specific ethnic and cultural and national communities. And so what we aim to do through Casa de las Americas is to expand that reach, to really speak to all of the Americas themselves in communication, in networking and such. We are going to be offering career services, academic services. We will be doing culturally specific programming for the college itself and the community. And again, more than anything, connecting as much as possible to our constituents, to our student body, and trying to serve them in the best way possible.
My name is Alberto Del Saz. Most people call me Tito. My journey as a dancer started, I guess, kind of late for a dancer. I was a figure skater before becoming a dancer. I became the first national figure skater champion of Spain in 1979. But then this opportunity came to come to New York, and I didn't really know what I was going to do. I wasn't thinking about becoming a dancer then. Once I made that connection and I decided to pursue this career, I wrote to Martha Graham and Paul Taylor and Cunningham and Alvin Nicolai. And Alvin Nicolai were the only ones kind of answer me back and says, oh yeah, we have a international program and we'll help you with the visas. And so I showed up. And a year later, I was in the company, and I became a soloist with the company, and then became a rehearsal director, and then later on, when Nikolai died, I became the artistic director along Mary Louise. So my role right now is really to try to continue the legacy of these two artists.
Come on, tell them to pick it up.
The connection between Hunter and the Nikolai Foundation and the Nikolai Company goes back to early 80s. I've been in and out of Hunter for about 35 years, almost 40 years. But then I became a little bit more, a little more involved when I started to teach here, which was about 12 years ago.
I love Tito's voice. I love Tito's voice. I love Tito's smile. I love Tito's energy. I don't know, the way he is as a teacher, you're eager to take his class. You're never going there thinking oh my God, we're at Tito's class. You're always going there thinking yes, we have Tito's class. What am I gonna learn? What is he gonna teach me?
Tito is consistent with his classes. You come in, you know exactly what you're going to expect, and he has the same routine every class. So there's something for everyone in every class.
My experience teaching at Hunter, I always feel like whenever I go teaching somewhere, for me it becomes a new experience. I don't have expectations, I don't have any specifics about what I'm going to be doing, because this whole technique is about being in the moment and exploring and experimenting and improvising. It's such a diverse school, and there's people that come from so many different backgrounds. And that, I think that enriches everybody's experience. I always feel like I have the responsibility to open my students' eyes, and they are really trying to learn as much as possible from the situation. I always came from a background where nothing was unattainable. It was about just always having the eagerness and the willingness to go for it, and then things will happen. And then I think that is one of the best ways to kind of getting to know yourself and getting to know your art, and what kind of a voice are you building, and are you trying to expose your fellow dancers in the classroom, or eventually your audiences as well.
We leave you with with more visual highlights celebrating CUNY at its 175th anniversary. Thank you for watching Urban U.